Did Emily Ratajkowski just call out Harry Styles? What was in the group chat in Gwyneth Paltrow's ski trial? And what's going on with Prince Harry's secret lawsuit? I'm gonna answer all these questions in this video, so stick with me. First up, if you saw the video of Emily Ratajkowski making out with Harry Styles, you might be wondering if they're going to start dating. But that might not be the case, judging from her latest online Q&A session that she did with fans. Emily hinted that she doesn't see a long-term future with Harry and opened up about her post-divorce dating life, which apparently hasn't been going all that well. She said that she recently dated a man who couldn't be bothered finishing her book of essays, My Body, which was almost like her own personal memoir. She said, "I dated a guy for a minute, whose name will not be disclosed, who never made it through my own damn book. He got halfway and he was like, it's really good. He kept saying he was a slow reader, but I was also like, okay, are you just not that interested in me?" Emily said that a lot of the time when guys ask her for book recommendations, it's just an empty gesture because they don't actually read anything that she suggests. She also thinks that men are less sophisticated than women when it comes to thinking about relationships. She said, "Men think with their D, and they're just not that advanced." This is what causes her to really question the men that she dates as a single mom, because a lot of them will try to slip into that father role just so that they can sleep with her. Quote, "Like a woman would be like, I don't even know if I can go on a first date with this guy. He has 2 kids. Guys are just not there. So they'll be in love with you and they'll be like, oh crap, she has 2 kids. Guess I'm a stepdad." Some people thought that Emily was talking about Harry Styles here and insinuating that he's the kind of guy who would rush into this relationship without really thinking about what it means to date a single mom. But that might be a little bit of a reach because it seems like Emily was generalizing and isn't really talking about one guy in particular. She does make a good point though in saying that a lot of men don't actually consider the responsibilities of being a step-parent before they decide to start dating someone with kids. Later on in the session, someone asked her if it's okay to raise a baby without the father, and she had a very interesting response. It turns out Emily plans on having a second child even if she has to go it alone. She said, "I think that having a father is important, but I also just want to say I know quite a few women who've done it on their own and they've done incredible jobs and they are fantastic mothers and they have wonderful kids. And I personally have really liked parenting on my own. So I personally wouldn't be afraid of getting pregnant and giving birth as a single woman." Emily is seriously considering freezing her eggs or doing IVF in her late 30s. Although that's what she's decided to do, she still doesn't necessarily recommend the same choice for every single woman. She acknowledges that you don't get time off from your mom duties and it can be a lot of work. This particular Q&A session was really eye-opening because it goes to show you that Emily has a super independent mindset after her divorce, and she doesn't really seem to be too bothered about looking for a potential stepdad in her romantic partners. But that's not to say that she's stopped looking for love. Since the video went viral of her and Harry kissing, the reaction from fans has been overwhelmingly positive. It's still too early to tell, but it seems like most people like the idea of them together. Although there was speculation going around that the whole thing was a PR stunt. Of course, some people would jump to that conclusion because the moment was caught on camera, and it seemed like the two of them didn't care that they were being filmed. They were also said to be dancing together in the rain and sharing one single umbrella, so it was almost too perfect. But you do have to wonder, why on earth would they need any more publicity? As far as we know, they don't have any upcoming projects together, so that doesn't really make any sense. And more importantly, why would Harry want to be seen as such a bad kisser? If the whole thing was staged, you would think it would look a little better. If you can bring yourself to watch the video again, it seems like Emily is trying to bring the technique, but he's intent on doing his own thing. In fact, even some of his fans were straight up grossed out by the kiss. One person tweeted, "Seeing how Harry Styles kisses has given me such an irreversible ick with him. Like, I think this is it. I think I'm finally free." Another person wrote, "I'm going to pretend that video of Harry and Emrata doesn't exist, not because I care about their relationship, but because I refuse to believe Harry Styles kisses like that." To be completely fair, we can't be judging his kissing capabilities from a 10-second clip, no matter how close the camera was. And even though they chose to hook up in public, there's something about the video that feels like a massive invasion of privacy. You can only watch it once before you start to feel a little weird about it. The good news is that Harry has a lot more time to date at the moment because he now has 6 weeks off before he starts touring through Europe in May. So it's a very convenient time for him to get a new love interest if that's what he wants to do. And now, if you've been rooting for Gwyneth Paltrow in a ski crash trial, I have some good news. Last week, her lawyers claimed that Terry Sanderson had captured a video of the collision on his GoPro, but then he decided to delete it because it would prove that he was the one who ran into Gwyneth. The evidence that remained of this was a link that he sent to his daughter, which could not be opened. Gwyneth's attorney said his team had attempted to open the link, but it was purposely faulty. But just when all hope seemed to be lost, Michael Fletcher, a tech investigator who happened to be keeping a up with the trial, decided to try and open it. In the end, he was surprised at how easy it was. He solved the mystery in just 2 minutes and told Court TV that the only thing he had to do was create an account on the website and log in. Michael said, "They just didn't know how to open the link. Honestly, it's comical how easy it was. I can't believe they didn't do this already. It's almost a joke. It was just common sense." While the link didn't lead him to the GoPro video, what he discovered was still very interesting. It was a hidden group chat including Terry Sanderson and his only witness to the incident, Craig Ramon. In one of the messages, he says, "You cannot make this up. Gwyneth took out Terry last week. Last Saturday, her son broke his arm skiing at Park City. Gwyneth was staying at the Montage. She took her plane out of Million Airport. What makes me mad is that Gwyneth took out Terry and just took off." This directly contradicts his testimony that he was not immediately aware that it was Gwyneth Paltrow who was involved in the crash. So he obviously knew who she was right away and knew that she was a massive celebrity. Of course, these messages were sent to her attorneys, and now the judge has ruled that they are admissible in the trial. So this is a huge setback for Sanderson, now that his only eyewitness has been discredited. At the moment, we are in the second week of the trial, and it's really dragging on. Even Gwyneth's children are involved. Yesterday, the jury heard testimonies from 18-year-old Apple and 16-year-old Moses, who were aged 11 and 9 at the time of the incident. They were happy to testify in person, but because of scheduling conflicts, the lawyers read their depositions out loud. Moses said he briefly saw the collision while he was skiing with an instructor. He and his instructor noticed the crash and skied over to where it happened, which was when he realized that his mum was involved. He heard her yelling at the guy who allegedly crashed into her from behind. Sanderson's legal team tried to claim that Gwyneth was distracted by her son calling to her, but Moses denied that this was the case. As for Apple, she didn't witness the crash personally, but she did hear some of the commotion from further down the hill. When she met up with her mother a little bit later, she recalled her looking shocked. Quote, "I asked what had happened, and she said, 'This a-hole ran into me. He ran right into my back.'" So her statement pretty much backs up everything that her mom has said about the accident. Now, the trial is not over yet, but so far it looks like Gwyneth has well and truly proven her case. And now, did you know that Prince Harry is going to war against the Daily Mail? And he's not the only one. Both Harry and Elton John were in court on Monday as a part of an explosive new lawsuit that they brought against the publisher of the Daily Mail called Associated Newspapers. They claim that in an effort to dig up dirt on celebrities, the newspaper is responsible for abhorrent criminal activity and gross breaches of privacy. This allegedly includes the placing of listening devices in their homes and on their cars, bugging their phone calls, and paying police for information. But the celebrities involved in this lawsuit are not backing down without a fight. About half a dozen high-profile figures have now joined together to take legal action. This includes actress Sadie Frost and Elizabeth Hurley, filmmaker David Furnish, and Baroness Doreen Lawrence. The 4-day preliminary hearing in London will end with a judge deciding whether or not the case will go any further. David Sherborne, the lawyer for the group of celebrities, released a statement about the case. He said, "The claimants each claim that in different ways they were the victim of numerous unlawful acts carried out by the defendant or by those acting on the instructions of the newspapers, the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday." He said the alleged unlawful activity included illegally intercepting voicemail messages, listening into live landline calls, obtaining private information like itemized phone bills or medical records by deception or blagging. He said that these incidents ranged through a period from 1993 to 2011, and some of them even continuing until 2018. The High Court has now heard from Harry about how these incidents affected his mental health and his personal relationships. He claims that this massive invasion of privacy deprived him of important aspects of his teenage years. He knew the Daily Mail had unlawful ways of gathering information, and he actually believed they were using the people closest to him to do it. He then became suspicious of everyone around him, and so paranoid that he had to cut off certain friends. At one point, he viewed his peers as potential suspects who were willing to sell him out to the newspaper. So how did he find out about all of this? Well, apparently several private investigators that were working for the newspaper actually admitted to these illegal practices. It turns out the targets were Harry, his friends, and any potential romantic partner in his life. As a part of his testimony, he brought up his former girlfriend Chelsea Davy and the media's relentless coverage of them. The information that kept getting leaked about the couple created a terrifying situation. Harry said, "Their behavior and treatment of Chelsea was not normal. I was scared that Chelsea was going to run in the opposite direction or be chased and harassed to death." He said he went to extreme lengths to protect their privacy, but it was impossible. These continued invasions into his personal life eventually put a strain on all of his relationships. For their part, Associated Papers rebutted the allegations and said that Harry's claims appeared to be based on a confession by a private investigator, but they say that that investigator now denies that they paid him to do anything illegal. During his testimony, Harry also accused the royal family of withholding information from him for a long time about phone hacking. In a written statement, he said, "The institution made it clear that we did not need to know anything about phone hacking, and it was made clear to me that the royal family did not sit in the witness box because that could open up a can of worms." He went on to explain how he found out that other people within the royal family had brought phone hacking claims against the press. Quote, "It was not an exaggeration to say that the bubble burst in terms of what I knew in 2020. When I moved out of the United Kingdom, there was never any centralized discussion between us about who had brought claims, as each office in the institution is siloed. There is this misconception that we are all in constant communication with one another, but that is not true." So basically, he found out that the institution had intentionally left him in the dark, even though they knew his privacy was being seriously invaded. This is a pretty big accusation to level against the royal family, but by now, after everything else that Harry has accused them of, it's not really that surprising. His hatred of the British tabloids is also no secret. We know that he blames the press for the death of his mother, Princess Diana. His wife, Meghan Markle, has also had her own battles with the press. In 2018, she sued Associated Newspapers Limited over 5 articles that they published, which included parts of the letter that she sent to her father, Thomas Markle. It took 3 whole years, but she eventually won her case. When Judge Mark Warby ruled in her favor, he decided that Meghan had a reasonable expectation that the contents of the letter would remain private, and that the articles had interfered with that reasonable expectation. In a statement of her own, Meghan called for a reshaping of the tabloid newspaper industry and said that she had been patient in the face of deception, intimidation, and calculated attacks. So it's no wonder that Harry is also choosing to stand up to the British press with his latest legal battle against Associated Newspapers. So what do you guys think about this latest story? Please let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.